it takes me back to very, very pleasant memories, from almost a decade and a half ago. I first met Rajiv ji, I think in 2018, when we had this Swadeshi Indology conference at IIT Chennai. Of course, I didn't get to speak to him at that time. He was organizing, but I was in the same proximity. So that was a hero moment for me because a lot of my journey is extremely inspired by Rajiv ji in very, very direct ways. So 2018, I went from Hyderabad to Chennai to attend the conference because I knew Rajiv ji was going to be there. And sure enough, of course, it was a fantastic experience. The next time that I met him was in Delhi. In fact, a few of us had a chance to speak to him. And that was another moment where, it was just a short while, but it was just a few of us, 4 or 5 of us, and we had an audience. And that was my first in-person meeting with Rajiv ji. And the overwhelming impression that I have is a man on a mission. And I've always looked at his own profile, and he says, driven by Shakti. And that's what that's what you take when you meet Rajiv ji. I think the Shakti is just very, very palpable and very graceful, but also very, very firm and very demanding. And I like that because I come from the corporate background, and I also know what he's trying to get us to see. That we'll have to be efficient, we have to be also effective, and that requires us to have direct, hard conversations. And I think he brings that panache, to the entire Indic discourse, and not just in person, but of course over the years with his work. But my relationship, if you will, with Rajiv ji started way back, not just in 2018. I would say 2011 and 12. And like most of us, I used to work in the gaming industry. I was in the gaming industry for about 17, 18 years. And it's a creative industry, and there's a lot more freedom and exciting creative work that you do working with art, design, product management, and technology. But I always had, because we were trying to build that industry in India, I looked at my job not just as making a gaming product, but also making the gaming industry and getting ourselves a seat at the creative table to make games for the world from India. That's how, it was the studio of obviously a multinational corporation, their studio in India. But there was a subtle ceiling, right? You were allotted certain jobs, and they were good. And to be honest, I also understand the assessment that they had of us because they never felt that we have the creative firepower to tell stories for the entire world. And gaming being a sophisticated, fairly complex piece, and with the culture, being at the center, we could understand it. But it was also true that despite our best efforts and despite showing results, there was not enough respect, right? And that is so you served a certain role within a schema that they've defined. And when I was reflecting on this, 2011 and 12 is when I first started reading Rajiv ji's book. I was always an eclectic reader, and I had interest from economics to politics to history. But I think it is Rajiv ji who made all of my reading purposive, because I could now see the fact that impressions about you as a culture, as a nation, as a team, far precede your engagement. Right? And I had felt it, but I could never articulate the why. Because none of the other books give you a direct explanation in a language that at least those of us who are in corporate and business and strategy can understand. Of course, if you are a traditional scholar, or if you are from an academic discipline that studied that as a profession, that's different. But for many of us, not just me, many of my friends, I think it is Rajiv ji who brought the world beyond what we thought it was. He foregrounded that for us. And he did that brilliantly with the power of words, frameworks, direct conversations, and without fear, without fear or without any care for reprisal. And in that, I think the role modeling is much bigger than just the book. So it's a combination of a rare persona who is what he writes. So, oftentimes you find that, okay, there's a writer and then there is a person. But with Rajiv ji, I've never seen that chasm. And I devoured his books. I first began reading Indra's Net. And soon after, I began with Indra's Net, and then Being Different, and then breaking India at that time. And since then, Hinduphobia in academia, Battle for Sanskrit, Battle for AI, all of his books. I think he is the frontier thinker of our times because he saw the battles before they emerged. And in many ways, we are still reacting to what he's warned us decades ago. And I don't think we are sufficiently equipped to deal with it even now. But there are thinkers who tell you where you are. There are thinkers who can tell you what is going to come. I think from history to the nexus of corporate NGO to how this entire discourse went from rural NGO to corporate NGO and academia and media to AI. I think every single aspect, and now the battle for consciousness, right? Every single dimension of the civilizational war, I think Rajivji has warned us. And to that, not just as an individual, because it helped me reflect on my own corporate journey, which also was a reason why I quit, because I had to find deeper answers. And in some ways, it is that inspiration that has led me to the path that has set up Bṛhat now. So I owe an immense debt of gratitude and a lifetime of inspiration to Rajivji. Since then, he's been very gracious. After I've set up Bṛhat, he's reached out and always encouraged. Always encouraged. He's a very, very quick judge of talent and merit, and very quick to give you that feedback also. And so it's up to you. If you're able to take it, I think you strike a great relationship with him. And I've just been fortunate to have his grace. There are a couple of things I'd like to add though. See, the whole idea of a civilizational grand narrative. It's a term that at least I haven't heard before. Rajivji used it. It's a short essay that he wrote on India's grand narrative. And to me, it is still one of the works that I go back to. Personally, the entire worldview difference between Indian civilization, Dharmic civilization, and the Western worldview. Because we were so enamored by the Western worldview. And I'm a product of my times, post-liberalization India, English, urbanization, call centers, IT, and then product companies, and then creative. So that's been my journey. So you felt like you achieved something in the world, right? There was this gnawing feeling that you're trying to put yourself up for validation on somebody else's terms, and you know that you're not getting it, but you somehow delude yourself into believing that this is success. And it is Rajivji's work, like you said, the unlearning process, and just breaking that image of yourself and forcing you to actually deal with the cognitive dissonance, and pointing to that chasm that all of us have as urbanized, post-liberal, liberalization Indians, that we put on certain performative things when we go out to work, and sometimes we take that off when we enter our homes back. But in many ways, we also carry that back to our homes. We become what we act, right? And it is Rajivji forced us to unact in some ways and be ourselves. So I think that was it. The civilizational grand narrative is the architecture that I understood and I still analyze things from. Like, what is the great story about India that's going to inspire not just Indians, but also the world to what we have, right? Why will the world care or sit up and take notice? And I think he's always been a relentless champion for the right kind of ambition, because we've had successes, right? We've had business successes, we've had a fantastic diaspora success, we have economic success, we have, of course, technological success. In some ways, also, we have space success and all of that. But all of this under the grand rubric of civilization and giving you the vocabulary to express that. I think his genius was particularly, for a person coming from the business and strategy background, the way he framed the issues, right? Words like difference anxiety, just a fantastic word, breaking India. The way, and he packed so much into just one phrase. And I learned the power of brevity from him. I would say Rajivji's legacy is clarity and courage and brevity, right? And of course, strategy, because it sees the things before they hit us. So he's been, I think, and maybe uniquely positioned also because he is in US and he is so sharp at recognizing trends and engaging with them fearlessly. And he is not afraid of putting out the opinion and exposing his vulnerability. Right? We talk about the taskmaster and the firm demands that he has as a person of quality, of performance, of rising up. But it is also true that he has put himself in the line of fire. The battles that he's fought, being there. And because he was looking over the horizon, he could actually signal to a lot of us what was growing beyond what we could see. And I think that's the legacy: foresight, strategy, leadership, brevity, clarity, courage. These are some of things and attributes that come to my mind when I think about Rajiv ji, and packing all of that into extraordinarily lucid but compelling books on a range of subjects. So that's another thing. And Rajiv ji himself has been very gracious in always telling us about his plans. I had an opportunity to have a dinner with him one-to-one when he was in India last, and he shared about the books that he was working on. So I was very excited, and in fact, when Battle for Consciousness came out, the some of the tours in India we managed to collaborate and add, and also along with another organization in Hyderabad who was taking the lead. Bṛhat actually partnered with them to host Rajiv ji in Hyderabad, and basically, just express our gratitude for lifetime's work. And as part of that, we had released a set of essays. Pankaj, Sai, Kavitaji, all of us wrote in that. And I think that's a volume that's dedicated entirely to Rajiv ji and his work and how we've learned. I just don't see not just a possibility, but I see a responsibility that we have to support that work and to make sure that we collaborate. It can take many forms. For example, the books and the book launches, and making sure that there is a public awareness around it, and we are able to write reviews, talk about it, convert that into certain frameworks that we can embed into our courses, of course, with with the right kind of accreditation and citation. So, I mean, building on the intellectual corpus and legacy that Rajiv ji is leaving, I think is the best thing that we can do to repay whatever he's done. But it can also take more concrete forms, maybe courses together, or even joint research. Once we think we are ready, and so that's another thing. Right now, of course, we are focused on spreading this kind of thinking in academia through the paradigm of Indian knowledge systems. One part of our work is the cultural content. So there are three verticals that we broadly talk about. One is the cultural storytelling, where we try and talk about civilizational narratives in bite-sized chunks, and also writing to make sure that there is a demand and awareness, in our in Hindu mind. But that has to be institutionally resolved for as well. And that is where our work with universities and schools, using the paradigm of Indian knowledge systems to build curriculum, to build faculty development programs, setting the standard that Rajiv ji asks us to rise towards. Right? So that's there. And third, and I think this is critical, maybe not enough spoken about, is just building the leadership potential in young people. Right? Through exemplary work, but also demanding to rise up, do the work to earn your opinion, kind of demand that Rajiv ji places on us, is the leadership that we also hope to build. And we invest pretty heavily in individuals. And a lot of that is, personally, like I said, it transfers through the consciousness that we've derived, growing up and reading his work. So that's how I see this collaboration, both tangible and intangible ways, in cultural storytelling, IKS research and education, and human potential in leadership. It's so hard to be on the battlefront all the time. Right? And I can only imagine the toll that it must have taken on him, to stand up and fight for a Hindu identity in a hostile land, and to also know the weaknesses of your own side, but to never give up, to never ever give up. So that's fortitude, and that kind of intestinal strength. I can only thank Rajiv ji. And I when I heard this news, I was so happy. He called me and he said, "I'm having this event and all of that. I wish we could travel and be there, but whether that happens or not, but we just hope and pray for a long life." And he is really blessed by Devi Shakti, and I just pray to Devi Ma that she's always taking very, very good care of Rajiv ji. And from all of us at Bṛhat, we are very grateful, and we look forward to learning from Rajiv ji and his work forever.